Hey guys, Deathletter Magic here, and as absolutely terrible as the companion mechanic turned out to be, because giving somebody an automatic 8th card that they can draw at any time that can't be removed from their hand turned out to be a bad idea. Who would have thought? Didn't see it coming. It actually could have been even worse because, unsurprisingly, they had other ideas. So Mark did a little odds and ends, Q&A video kind of about Ikoria where people kiss his ass. He cherry picks all of the tweets that aren't completely blowing him up. And basically just douchebags on Twitter enable him to keep being terrible at his job. But one of the questions were, what were the companion ideas that you didn't use? And here we go. Oh my gosh, guys, if you thought that it couldn't get worse. These are actually, I think, entirely conditions, though. He never said what the card would do, but he did state what the deck building restrictions could have been. And some of them are real interesting. So he says, a lot of the ideas that didn't get used ran into deck monitoring issues. That is, it was hard for your opponents to easily tell if your deck wasn't legal. And he is correct about that, although proving it at all is kind of difficult. I mean, having to call a judge because you think maybe one of their cards doesn't match or whatever is still makes you look bad no matter what, honestly. But yeah, if you just say, hey, every card in your deck has to cost, 3 and up or 2 and under, pretty darn easy to catch somebody on that. Except that their entire sideboard doesn't have to comply with it, so game 2 and 3, good luck. Another reason why that rule is not a good idea. But wait until you hear some of these. So they dumped them because, as a whole, generally, they thought that it was too difficult for your opponent to easily tell if your deck complied with the deck building rules or not. This is as close as we'll ever get to Wizards of the Coast giving a crap about cheating. So, first one, for example, we had a companion that required a portion of your deck to be all basic lands. He says, I don't remember how many, but it would be a higher density lands than you would normally be expected to run. So maybe like 30 or something. That would have been kind of interesting, but it would be an automatic sideboard game 2 and 3 to reduce it to a normal amount, because in game 2 and 3, your deck does not have to comply with it. But yeah, you would literally have to resort to like a full deck check to verify this. Which, I mean, that's kind of how you'd verify any other one, but if, like I said, if they're playing Lurrus and they play a 3-cost spell, guess what? Doesn't mean there's not one in their deck. There shouldn't be, but you never know. So that one would have been interesting because it would have like really screwed with like gameplay a lot, especially if they had to be basic lands. I would have just said lands. Playing the wrong amount of lands, and I'm talking like 1 or 2 off from what your deck should be mathematically, that's like a death sentence. That's completely shooting yourself in the foot. So being off by like 6 or 7, oh, that would have been fun to see. So the second one doesn't really make sense to me, but he says, we had a companion that only let you play any one spell for a certain mana cost. One spell per turn? Or are we talking like epic spell, if you guys remember how those worked? So like your whole deck had to cost exactly 3, or was it just that, or also that plus you could only spend 1 mana per turn? Or did you put like counters on it and you could only spend mana like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Or I don't get it. Would you be able to include them in your deck, or would you only be able to cast them? Because then it wouldn't be a deck building requirement, it would be a gameplay requirement, which is completely different. So I don't really get what he's saying here, but I kind of get the idea of it, I guess. So the third one was kind of funny. We had a companion that required a card of every converted mana cost from 0 to 10 to be in the deck. Let me just say that wouldn't have worked at all. There's no way in hell. It would be 5 color. I mean, what even costs 8, 9, and 10? Last time we did that stupid event in Arena, I think one of the categories had 1 creature in it. I mean, do you have to play like scry discard or draw discard to get past all the dead cards that you don't need? It would just be so stupid. So next up, he says there was an alternate version of Kahira, that's the orphan card one, where every card has to be a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, or beast. And he says Kahira originally required 10 plus creatures to be in the deck. Okay, that sounds like basically any deck. I assume what he meant to say was 10 unique creatures, 10 different creatures. And then you would have trouble, 4Xing something, and you have to throw in a bunch of like one-ofs just to qualify. But it would have been doable. I do think the one they settled on was a little bit better. So every single one of them fell by the wayside, though, as he puts it, because we made the decision that we wanted the companion requirement to be something your opponent could monitor as you played the deck. That was a wise decision, although they shouldn't have printed mechanic at all. Giving somebody a free 8th card that's virtually unstoppable, not a good idea. That's just half of a combo piece. It's so stupid. Or guaranteed synergy. It's 8 versus 7, and it's an auto fetch. Like, are you kidding me? So that is why they dumped all of those potential ideas. And I think, yeah, for good reason they did it. But I think a lot of those either would have been impossible to build or would have been super, super easy to comply with, like too easy. The rest of this article is kind of illuminating too. He does accidentally admit in a roundabout way that they knew that mutate was horribly, horribly confusing. It still is. Somebody asked if they ever considered soul bond because, one, it's freaking awesome, and two, because of the whole bond thing, the animal, human alliance, whatever. Dude, they seriously need to bring back soul bond. I love it. He says the first thing we tackled was the monsters, which meant we had mutate in the set very early on. Now pay attention to this. Once we had mutate, we tried to stay away from other mechanics that we thought would create more comprehension complexity. That is, confusion over how the mechanic essentially works. Soulbond holds the record for creating the most judging issues of a mechanic at a pre-release. That cannot possibly be true. He does put in parentheses since we started tracking this metric, but that can't be true. It can't be. No way. I could probably name 10 that are more complex. I mean, just protection from. They got rid of that from standard constructed because the rules were too confusing to people. And then they brought it back with no reason. Somebody asked if we're going to see more IP tie-ins like Godzilla, and he said, we're kind of testing the water with this, plus, other stuff in the past like the Nerf cards and all that. And he said, yeah, if people like it, we're going that direction. It might be something we explore. So I hope not. It's cheap, it's stupid, it's advertising, and I hate it. That said, if they did DBZ or .hack, I'm all in. By the way, I think every single tweet that he featured in here had a massive punctuation, grammatical error, or typo. This one, I'm not going to read the short 4-paragraph novel that Mr. Rosewater posted to try to justify this. I'm just going to read the question. If you copy/clone a mutated creature, the copy keeps all the mutations. That's right, you copy something exactly as it sits. I don't know why people found that confusing. I'm going to correct the next two sentences because they're just written wrong. It seems very messy to try to keep track of this in paper magic, especially if you were to have a creature that mutated 4 times and then the original copy dies. Because you just have to remember what the state of that creature was. What was the design philosophy when approaching this complication? And he just wrote a bunch of absolute bullshit. So balance and pros and cons and blah, blah, blah. And then he just ends with like, we don't have all the answers. Bitch, the answer is don't print mutate. Print something less confusing. Literally nobody is confused by devotion. And finally, the last one I want to share was somebody basically asked, like, how complex is this set? Like, on a scale, and he says, absolutely maxed out. This is as complicated as a set, like, complexity-wise, possibly could get. 10 out of 10 for confusing complexity. Great. Thanks, Mark. We appreciate it. Completely unnecessary. He really gets way too excited about, I'm going to do something so crazy nobody's ever seen it before. No. Wrong. He keeps saying that's his priority and seemed shocked at the results of his multiple polls where people said, I care about game balance more than seeing something flashy, new, and interesting, okay? Give us our 17th version of Strive and Overload and whatever the hell else and just shut up about it. Call it something else. Just whatever. Let us play Magic. Game fairness, balance, and appropriate power level? To say that that's more important is an understatement. That is the rule, the law. That is the policy. The game has to be fair, playable, and appropriately powered. And then you work from there, okay? He was working under the assumption that everybody wanted to see amazing, flashy new crap we've never seen. Ooh, a new zone, a new thing. Ooh, you're basically playing Commander, but in standard constructed. People love Commander, right? And he got so obsessed with the most flashy, amazing, stunning, and brave new thing that he put that above, game safety, rules, confusion, everything. This is the highest complexity set that he said we will ever see. He pushed companions despite that failing playtesting like 6 years ago. In a weaker form, mind you. And then he got all excited. Oh, wait till you guys see this. Oh, the mechanics are amazing. Oh, this set's going to be so great. In your own head, because you don't know what fair, mathematics, probability, and deck building is. You just are the ideas guy, as you put it. And I love how he was like, I'm just the top level ideas guy, and then I take the concept and the mechanics and I send them to card design and play testing and development. That's their job. And then there's a million examples of him saying, here's a card that I designed. Here's one specific card that I designed. Oh guys, I designed this exact card Well, if you're designing individual cards, then I guess you're not the high-level ideas guy, are you? You well, probably are, but then also design individual cards. So he was trying to dodge a bullet by just outright lying on Twitter that one day. We all know, because you've said it multiple times, that you design individual cards, okay? Oh, and at the end of this dumpster fire of an article, they have a link to his last podcast, where in the description, he doxes the professor with his full first and last name, which I know for a fact he does not want anyone posting. It's not like it's unknown. I mean, he gets around, people know his name, but he really doesn't like people using it for safety and security reasons. But this is Mark Rosewater, damn it. He's going to do whatever the hell he wants. It's dachshund time, and I don't mean those cute little dogs. Oh, I just had to Google image search dachshund. They are so cute. They're like little hot dogs with legs. And the two last lines of this article ensure us that more hilarity is to come. He says, join me next week when I talk about the complexity Vicoria. Oh, I'd love to see him try to defend that. To this day, I don't think anybody fully understands how every condition of mutate works. Oh, by the way, to go back to an earlier point, I guarantee you the most asked about, the most confusing, the most judge-calling thing in the game was vehicle crewing. I guarantee it. People were screwing that up at high-level tournaments in the top 32. They were screwing up what phase they had to do it in, stuff they were making, I'd say, basic mistakes, except it's really damn confusing and complicated. So when even pro people who are there, like, making money screw it up, they're the ones who should be doing their homework, and most of them are former judges or know them, or, you know, they've been playing the game long enough to know the damn rules. Yeah, that's pretty bad. So for him to say it was soul bond, no, that's ridiculous. It works exactly like how it says on the card. Anyway, the last line is, until then, may you bond with, fight, or run away from many monsters. Bitch, I'm running away from this entire set. Look at your sales numbers. Everybody's running away from the set. Fixed standard. So anyway, thanks for watching. I found this article exceptionally interesting, so I just had to make a video on it. But if you like what I said, go check out the original article. There's some more gems in there. And don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.